So it's hard to see here because of all the stuff in the background, but this is the drag link assembly, complete with the idler arm set up in the vise. These two holes are for the tie rod ends. And I was wondering, what the heck is that for? Because I couldn't think of what in the world it would be used for, because you only have two tie rod ends. And then it dawned on me that what that is where the ball joint that's attached to the piston that drives the standard Corvette steering is attached. So I wasn't going to get this out, but I decided it'd be easier to show. This basically bolted to the frame and connected here and there. And as power steering was required, it moved in and out to give you the power assist on the steering. So that hole is not going to be used with the Borgeson box because the power steering is built into the steering gear in the Borgeson box. So there is one thing that's different with the Borgeson versus the standard Corvette steering, and that's this apparatus right here, which is your pitman arm attaches to this and then goes to the steering gear. Well, it turns out that on the standard Corvette steering system with the ram to provide the power, this is loose until you start the engine and have power steering fluid being pumped to it. So the Borgeson box comes with a replacement for that that is tight, not loose. So it's basically got a grease fitting. It's basically a ball joint inside there. So this has to come off and that has to go back on. Now, with this clamp in the vise, this stud points approximately to 11 o'clock. So that's how I'm going to install the Borgeson piece. And then it may require some on-car adjustment. So that son of a gun's pretty tight. I might have to get out the impact wrench. Nope. I'm probably creating more work for myself here in the spring because it's now December and I haven't cleaned off this piece of the drag link or anything. So come spring, I'm probably going to want to degrease this and possibly paint it. So that might be a little more difficult to do with the drag link on the car, or I may have to just quickly take it off, clean it, paint it, put it back on. But I want to get it on now so that hopefully I can get 4 wheels on this thing and I can move the chassis to get the body up on the lift and the chassis being able to be moved. Well, for being on here for I'm assuming 40-some years, I was expecting to have a struggle to turn this, and now I'm having a problem adjusting my channel locks, because these are a cheap pair and they pretty much suck. So, at any rate, I did get a grip on it on this spot here, and it turned pretty easily, so this is going to come off fairly easy, I think. It should. I just need a way to grip the darn thing. It's kind of hard to grip because it's a weird shape. Maybe once I get it a little looser, I can just take it off by hand. But as I said, this was a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought maybe it would take some creative thinking, let's call it. As I mentioned, it's now December, and I would like to clean off that drag link and that before I put it on. And the reason I want to put it on is because it will keep the front wheels in sync should I need to move the car or the chassis. So I guess I'm starting a new pile of stuff to take to the junkyard. That's not going to be good. I guess somebody might be able to have a use for it. So the Borgeson piece has its own clamp with a different size nut than the stock one did. Oh, yesterday I was doing finishing up on installing the spindles, and I was greasing the ball joints. I got through 2 of them and ran out of grease, and I didn't finish the last 2 because I could not get that grease gun to work once I put the new cartridge in it. So I think I'm going to throw it away and get myself a battery powered one, so that when I'm doing grease jobs it's very portable. This is a little strange here too. This is a foam collar on that. I don't know if it's just on there to maintain it. They didn't give me any instructions, I don't think, for installing the darn thing. Yeah, that's one complaint I've had about pretty much all of these aftermarket parts that I got, is they don't give you very good instructions. I'll have to double check that to see if they do say to remove that or leave it on. But the instructions either, for most of these things, either are lacking in detail, or sometimes the detail's there but it's buried in the text of the description, and you have to read it very carefully or you miss some of that stuff, like things like torque specs and so on and so forth. Okay, that's at about 11 o'clock, but it looks like I might be able to get one more rotation of that if I grab a pair of vice grips that I can actually grip that with. Okay, I said vice grips, I meant channel locks. Maybe I do need vice grips. Or a pipe wrench. You can see my drag links starting to move in the vise. I have the rubber jaws in it. And that might not be the best way to do it. I might be better off just clamping it with the metal. So I almost made a mistake there. I took those jaws out, clamped I laid the drag link assembly back down. And I put it back in, put it in upside down from where I had it. So fortunately I caught it because I noticed that the stud for the pitman arm was not in the position that it was when I took the drag link out. So if I would have adjusted it to that, it would have been it. Would have been upside down. So I'm going to go get me a pipe wrench to turn that because I don't have the hand strength to hold the channel locks tight enough to turn that thing. And a pipe wrench will do a lot better job. So sometimes it does good to step away from what you're doing. And in my walk to the house to get the pipe wrench here, I had a thought. Well, before I went to the house, I actually had used a wire wheel on a drill to clean off some of the grease that was on there. And there, that's about 11 o'clock. I don't know if I can get another turn there or not. Maybe I should go for it. But anyways, I cleaned up some of that. And I thought, well, I'll look at the can of spray paint I have up there. And if I can paint in these conditions, I will paint it. So I brought down a can of brake cleaner to clean off the excess grease after wire wheeling it. And that's not going to go to 11 o'clock, so I'm going to have to back it off and clamp it down at 11 o'clock. Anyways, I thought what I would do is just paint it if I could, but the directions on the can say that it's too cold. And I don't expect it to get warm enough for quite a while. So there, we're at about 11 o'clock. That'll do it. I'm I'm going to clamp this down so it doesn't move. But the thought I had while I was walking up and back is my goal of getting this installed is so that I can push the chassis if I need to without the front wheels flopping in either direction, so that they would at least point in the same direction. And what I thought is, why don't I just put these on, but only put them on hand tight. Don't tighten them up so that they need to be removed with, you know, some kind of tie rod end removal tool or air hammer or something like that. And then I'll still have enough of the wheels being in the same direction, but come spring when I can actually paint this, I can hit that with some of the brake parts cleaner, spray it with some Rust-Oleum, and you know, I'll cover up what I don't want painted with aluminum foil, because that works well. And it won't be too much extra work to take it back off and do it the way I want it. So the clamp for the Borgeson piece here has 3/4 inch bolt head on the bolt and 3/4 inch nut. So we're going to tighten that up to keep that from moving. It's got a nylon locking nut, so it will stay put once I tighten it. Now, if I need to move that once I get it tightened or get it installed and attached to the pitman arm, or to attach it to the pitman arm, I can always loosen this pinch bolt here. Okay, that is pretty tight. That's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to basically turn that over and clean the rest of the drag link off with the wire wheel. It should have enough of grease left on it after that to prevent it from rusting over the winter. This is a sealed up, dry environment here, so it's not like it's going to be out in the rain or anything. So after I clean that up, we'll go install it on the car. So there's the Borgeson steering box, and I was thinking that maybe there was another good reason to have to leave this stuff loose, and maybe there still is, but there's a flat, actually two flats on this part right here. So this will only go either, say that's 12 o'clock, the only other way it will go is 6 o'clock. So, but then I looked into the other end of it where the steering column goes, and it's splined every 16th or 32nd of an inch or something like that. So it doesn't matter too much where that goes on, but I'm still going with my idea of being able to take this off to paint it. So I cleaned up the pitman arm that was from my 74, because if you've been watching this all along, you might recall that whenever I was trying to get the pitman off pitman arm off of the steering box that I broke my pitman arm puller, and I never did get it off. So I had gotten the one off of the 74, which is identical, and basically the way I got it off is I heated it up with a torch, and using a puller I got it off. So it really was a matter of, I didn't want to destroy the seals in the 76 box, which I'm sure they were destroyed in the 74 box from the fire. When you use the fire wrench, it's kind of destructive. So I am going to put this on again because I wasn't happy with how far away I was from the box. There are, I don't know if you can see them in here, but there are 4 little spots where, there you can probably see one. They're wider than the rest of them. So this can go on to that box 4 different ways, and this nick is lined up with one of those spots. And see if you can see them on that. Let's get it focused a little better. I don't know if you can see them on here. You kind of can. This right here is one of those spots, so I'm going to line it, and the end that connects to the drag link goes down. So lining this up with that, it goes on pretty easily. The torque spec on this is something wild, like 80 pounds or something like that. And so I'm just putting this on hand tight so that I can keep the front wheels in alignment if I try to push it, so they won't each be going in their own direction. So that's good enough for what I want to do here. Now the question is, will it be easier to put the idler arm on first, or will it be easier to put that stud into the pitman arm? I'm going to go with the idler arm. The idler arm is 2 screws right there. And I'm taking those out. These 2, I guess if I wanted to, I could make them really tight because they don't require a special tool to take them off. They just come off easily. So there's a long carriage bolt that goes through from the other side to keep it from turning. Goes on there. Other screw goes through. I should say bolt. Tough to hold this with one hand. Normally when you're working with the idler arm, that's all you're working with. You don't have the drag link attached. So it makes it a little more difficult. and I dropped the bolt. So I'm sorry to drop the nut. So these look like a 9/16 or a 5/8. I think they're 9/16. I'm going to have to get a wrench and draw the bigger bolt through so that I can get more threads visible for me to put the other nut on. Okay, we're going to tighten that up. It's a long bolt, the carriage bolt is, so you're going to need a deep socket or a wrench. They are 9/16. We've got the power tools out for this. Oh, well, I need the exercise. So on the shorter bolt on top, you do need to hold it on the back end because it's not a carriage bolt. The bolts on, or the nuts on these are those self-locking type. That's why they're so hard to tighten. Again, this is going to come down, so I'm not putting it on super tight. It's just so that I can move the chassis if I need to. So there you have the bottom part of the pitman arm. This is the Borgeson piece we added on. And we just have to get this stud up into that hole. And one of the things that you can do, because on the idler arm side there's a ball joint, you can actually move that bar a little bit if you have to. You can rotate it to line up that stud. So the 11 o'clock alignment was perfect. I won't need to do anything else to that. And again, I'm just putting these on hand tight so that I can move the car if I need to. I don't know if I can put the cotter pin through there or not, but I will be able to do it later. Okay. The only thing that remains is a couple tie rods. And those tie rods are going to go from this hole here going the wrong way to this here. Nuts on this side, nuts on the top here. So I'm going to go clean those up and we'll put at least one of them on video. Okay, we're ready to put the tie rods in. One goes there. These will need cotter pins and tightened fully, whenever it's the final assembly. But like I said, I'm going to take these off to put some paint on them in the spring, because I think for now we're kind of done with any kind of weather that could possibly be used to paint. So have to line up the stud on the tie rod end with the oops, too far. Put the drag link. Put a nut on that. Again, not tightening these up to the point where I'm going to have to use the tool to remove them. But point is that now, I don't know if I can move it from here, but if I move the wheel, say, the whole thing will go in one direction. Both wheels are going to be able to turn the same direction once I get the other one on. So I should have taken the nuts off of this one first. These go in the second hole, if you will. The other one's plugged, so you can't really make a mistake. There's two holes in that steering link there, and one of them was used for manual steering, one was because it gave you more leverage, and one of them was used for power steering because you didn't need as much leverage on it. Stud lined up. There you have it. I'm going to tighten that one over here a little bit better. Just there's maybe some crud in the joints actually. I use it on both of them, but I'm not going to tighten it to where I'm actually sucking it into the needs to be pushed up against that drag link enough so that whenever you're turning it, the stud just doesn't rotate in there. I'm going to stop as soon as I get this close to the drag link, when the nut's right close to it. Actually, Actually, it's probably spinning a little bit in there now. Probably need to use a... Huh, that one's a different size. I think it's tight. Well, I'll put a wrench on it a little bit and tighten it, but whole point of this is now, see if I can, no, I can't get it. Can I get it? Can't quite get it to where I can see both brake rotors. I wanted to demonstrate that that they'll both move in unison. If I move one or the other, they both go. It's pretty hard to move them both. Get enough leverage. Now, oh well, you get the idea. They're both connected, and if I roll it, they'll roll in the same direction. So I got a different angle, and I can show that these things are moving in unison. This whole steering assembly works. So I'll be able to put wheels on there and move it around once I get the rear end on. And I guess that's next.